Have you ever wondered what happens when the universe decides you've waited long enough? Because Leo, right now, something is shifting. And I don't mean someday. I mean this moment. This season. This reading. Welcome back, radiant soul, to Eternal Mindfulness, your sanctuary for celestial insight, soul-centered guidance, and cosmic timing. If you found your way here today, know this: it's not random. It's rhythm. It's alignment. It's destiny tapping you on the shoulder, saying, your time to rise has returned. This is a deep astrological reading created specifically for Leo, for the rest of April. Whether you're sun, moon, rising, or have strong Leo placements, this message is charged with frequency only your soul will recognize. Because deep down, you've known something's been stirring. An echo from within. A feeling that the waiting is over. That your light was never lost, only temporarily dimmed by lessons, delays, or the noise of other people's doubts. And now, the clouds are parting. The world is about to remember what happens when a Leo stops holding back. Maybe you've been quiet lately. Maybe you've felt forgotten. Maybe you've poured your heart into things, and felt like no one noticed. But what if I told you, this silence wasn't punishment, it was preparation? And the shift that's coming? It's not small. It's not subtle. It's the kind that realigns your purpose, your confidence, and your place in this world. Here's the truth, Leo. No one else can carry your light. No one else can speak your roar. And no one else can rewrite the story that was always yours to claim. So today, in this reading, we're going to decode the symbols from the universe, through tarot, astrology, numerology, and the energetic frequencies that are flooding into your field right now. You'll uncover the truth behind your recent emotional patterns, the energetic blocks being lifted, and most importantly, the opportunities that are now magnetically being drawn to you. As the Buddha said, just as a candle cannot burn without fire, men cannot live without a spiritual life. Your flame, Leo, is sacred. And this chapter is not about becoming someone new, it's about remembering who you already are. So, before we dive into the cards, I want you to do something simple but powerful. Take a breath. Center your energy. Now choose a number between 1 and 999, and drop it in the comments. This is your angel number for the week. Let your intuition pick it, and let the universe confirm it. And let me take a moment to say this from the bottom of my heart: thank you. For being here. For choosing presence. For every like, every comment, every share, every subscriber that joins this journey. You are not just growing this channel, you're creating a ripple in the collective field of light. And I promise you, Leo, you'll want to stay with me until the very end. Because what the universe is revealing for you today is magnificent. There's a quiet beauty in endings that often goes unnoticed. While beginnings are celebrated with excitement and hope, endings tend to be approached with resistance, fear, or grief. But for you, Leo, this moment marks not a loss, but a return. A return to your truth, your wholeness, your center. The World card and the Nine of Cups together create a rare energetic pairing, one that whispers to your soul, you have arrived, and you don't need to prove yourself anymore. This phase of your life has felt like walking through fog with a candle cupped in your palms. You've protected your light, even when the wind threatened to snuff it out. You've moved forward, one step at a time, while quietly wondering if the universe saw your effort. And now, the fog is lifting. The cycle of self-doubt, of shrinking yourself to fit into places too small for your spirit, is reaching its sacred conclusion. The number 21, the culmination of the major arcana, reflects not just an ending, but a sense of cosmic alignment. It's the final breath of a long exhale, the full circle. Meanwhile, the number 9 is the vibration of fulfillment, deep inner wisdom, and emotional sovereignty. Together, they offer an invitation: let go of the need to explain, justify, or be more. You already are. You always have been. Perhaps somewhere along the way, you began editing parts of yourself to avoid being too much. Too loud, too bold, too radiant. But dimming your light doesn't make others shine brighter. It just leaves the world a little dimmer. And what if, just for today, you gave yourself permission to take up space? To walk into a room and not apologize for your presence? To breathe without holding your breath for someone else's comfort? There's a kind of liberation that comes not from fighting for a crown, but realizing you've always been wearing one. This is that moment, Leo. Not a dramatic climax, but a gentle realization. Like standing still long enough to feel the sunlight touch your skin again after years of running. You no longer have to chase the spotlight. You are the light. It's a shift in perspective more than circumstance. A turning of the wheel that asks, who would you be without the need to impress? When the applause fades and the stage lights dim, what remains is your essence, and that, dear Leo, has always been more than enough. This inner arrival doesn't need a parade. It needs your presence. So take a breath and ask yourself, with honesty and compassion, whose expectations have I been performing for? And then ask a better question: what do I want now, that I've learned what doesn't fulfill me? There's a natural law at work here, the one that teaches us that all things, when fully experienced, dissolve. Just like clouds passing through the sky, emotions and identities formed from pain eventually float away when we stop clinging to them. And so, too, does this cycle. It dissolves not because you fought it, but because you saw it clearly, honored it, and let it complete itself. You're not here to perform anymore. You're here to be. To embody. To rise, not because someone gave you permission, but because your soul has outgrown the silence. If you're feeling a subtle sense of completion, like a door quietly clicking shut behind you, honor it. You've done the work. You've endured the shadows. And now, the light isn't coming from outside. It's coming from within. If your heart whispered, yes, as you read these words, you're ready. Ready to reclaim your center, your voice, your stage. So go ahead, comment the word reclaim below. Not for me. For you. Because no one else can rise for you, and the world has waited long enough. Sometimes it begins with the slightest flicker, an idea, a desire, a spark you thought had burned out long ago. But that flicker is the first sign that the fire hasn't left you. It's been resting, waiting patiently, just beneath the surface. And now, as this chapter of completion settles into your bones, something new stirs. A kind of boldness returns, not as noise or ego, but as a clear pulse from within. That pulse is your signal, it's time to rise again, not as someone trying to keep up, but as someone ready to lead. The energies of the Knight of Wands and King of Wands hold distinct frequencies, but together they form a powerful bridge. One symbolizes momentum, movement, and passion-driven action. The other, mastery, presence, and unwavering vision. What happens when the two meet? You reclaim the throne you never truly lost, but perhaps momentarily stepped away from. There's nothing forced about this leadership. It's not about domination. It's about embodiment. You don't have to push your way forward. You move forward because there's a quiet knowing that says, "This path was made for me." Leo, your fire isn't like others. It doesn't consume to destroy, it warms, it uplifts, it illuminates. When channeled with clear intention, it becomes a force that inspires others to remember their own light. That's the essence of true leadership, not standing above, but standing within, so confidently that others are reminded to stand beside you. And when you act from your most authentic passion, not obligation, not fear, not comparison, you align with the natural law of momentum. That's when things begin to flow. That's when resistance dissolves and the how begins to answer itself. The universe doesn't open doors because you shouted. It opens them because you stepped in rhythm with what already belonged to you. This is also a moment to reflect on how often you've downplayed your vision. Have you been calling your brilliance too much? Have you hidden behind busy work to avoid stepping into the center of your own calling? It's tempting to stay behind the curtain, to let others take the spotlight while you whisper wisdom from the wings. But that season is ending. This next cycle invites you to show up. To stop being the one who supports from the shadows, and instead, become the source of illumination. And maybe you're wondering, where do I even begin? You begin right where you are. With one decision. One action. One step toward that idea you've been sitting on. That thing you said you'd start next month, next season, when things settle, yes, that thing. Write it down. Speak it out loud. Take one action that makes it real. Because energy, once directed, multiplies. And the fire within you? It doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to burn with truth. Much like the flame of a candle doesn't think about how it will spread light, it simply exists, and in doing so, illuminates the entire room. You too don't need to know the outcome. You just need to trust the ignition. What you begin today in small, bold steps will ripple far beyond what you can now imagine. Let this part of your journey be about choosing motion over doubt. Let it be about leading, not for attention, but from purpose. And when that opportunity presents itself, whether on a stage, in a conversation, or in the quiet act of self-expression, don't shy away. You weren't made to dim. You were made to direct the fire. There are moments in your journey, Leo, where silence holds more power than any roar ever could. After igniting the fire within, after stepping forward with bold vision, there comes a deeper test, the ability to stand firm in that light, even when the world tries to distract or diminish it. This is where true strength reveals itself. Not in force, not in performance, but in inner steadiness. In knowing who you are so completely that no noise outside can shake the stillness within. The Strength card, which you as Leo uniquely embody, is often misunderstood. Many assume it's about conquering or overpowering something. But its real essence lies in gentleness, in restraint, in compassion woven into discipline. It's the quiet ability to pause before reacting, to listen before speaking, to choose presence over pride. That's not weakness. That's mastery. There's an old truth often shared in the teachings of awareness, that the one who can sit with discomfort without flinching is the one who truly understands power. To sit with your own rising emotions, your own impulses, your own urges to lash out or prove something, and to simply witness them without acting, that is a kind of courage few talk about, but all respect when they see it. In this phase of your growth, you may notice challenges that don't require you to push harder, but to soften. You may be asked to stay silent in moments where you would once defend yourself. Not because your truth isn't worth defending, but because it no longer needs to be. When you know your value, it speaks through your energy, your presence, your calm refusal to be pulled into lower vibrations. And if the outside world feels chaotic right now, understand this: your peace is not found in controlling the chaos. It's found in remembering that you are not the chaos. When you return to breath, when you return to stillness, you reclaim the space where clarity lives. That's where the best choices are made. That's where the truest version of your power begins to grow. Try this for a moment. Each morning, before the day fully begins, find a quiet spot. No phone, no noise, just you and your breath. Place your hand gently over your heart and say to yourself, "I lead from the heart, not from fear." Repeat it 3 times. Not quickly. With intention. Let it settle into your chest like a soft anchor. This small act is not about perfection, it's about direction. About choosing to meet life's noise with your own still, unwavering frequency. And when the noise tries to bait you, when gossip or criticism or unnecessary drama calls your name, remember, Leo doesn't chase attention. Leo attracts it by simply being. You don't need to defend your throne when you've already mastered your crown. It's okay to walk away from things that no longer reflect who you've become. It's okay to pause and not explain yourself. In fact, that's sometimes the most powerful message you can send: I am not where I used to be, and I no longer need to prove it. Real leadership, the kind that shifts lives, often looks like quiet confidence, not outward control. It's the moment you choose not to react. The moment you smile when you could argue. The moment you hold steady in your truth, not because you want to win, but because you've already outgrown the game. In this space, Leo, your light becomes untouchable. Not because it's louder, but because it's anchored. And from that stillness, you don't just shine, you become the lighthouse for others still navigating their storms. It doesn't always take a loud decision to change your life. Sometimes, it's the quiet recognition that the path you've been walking has grown too narrow for who you're becoming. After learning how to hold your light with grace and presence, the next step is subtle but profound: refining your direction. Not by working harder, but by choosing more wisely. The energy of this moment is less about force and more about focus. It's not about proving you can do everything, it's about knowing exactly where to stop giving your energy away. The 7 of Swords and the Wheel of Fortune may seem like an unlikely pair, but together, they hold a key lesson: strategy opens the door, and surrender lets it turn. There's a shift in motion now, a karmic wheel beginning to move, but it doesn't spin randomly. It responds to clarity, It responds to the intentional withdrawal of energy from places that no longer serve your evolution. That's the hidden power of the Seven of Swords, not deceit, but discernment. The wisdom to walk away without an announcement. The courage to move differently, even if no one understands why. This moment asks you to examine whether you've been repeating certain cycles, not because they're aligned, but because they're familiar. And let's be honest, Leo, comfort can be deceptive. It masquerades as stability, when in truth, it's often resistance in disguise. Ask yourself gently, am I staying here because it's right, or because I'm afraid of what happens if I leave? When you release the patterns that keep looping, the relationships that drain, the expectations you never agreed to, the roles that no longer fit, you make room for the wheel to turn. And the wheel, by nature, wants to turn. That's the lesson of the number 10 in numerology. It represents the fullness of one cycle and the inevitable birth of another. Paired with 7, the number of insight, questioning, and deeper wisdom, and 17, the number of hope and soul clarity, you're being guided to something more than luck. You're being led to alignment. One of the simplest and most transformative things you can do right now is to review your commitments. Not just on paper, but energetically. What's still tethered to you that you've outgrown? What's holding space in your calendar but no longer holds space in your heart? These questions aren't meant to create guilt, they're meant to create freedom. Because when you get honest about what's no longer working, you also get clear on what's waiting to bloom. Try this, rewrite your action plan for May. But don't fill it with shoulds. Only write down what truly excites your soul, the ideas that make you feel awake, expansive, even a little scared. Let your body be your compass. If it contracts, that's hesitation. If it opens, that's invitation. It's easy to forget, especially when we're capable of so much, that real power is not in doing everything, it's in doing the right things, for the right reasons, at the right time. There's a teaching in the ancient wisdom traditions that says, when the mind is clear, right action arises on its own. So before chasing outcomes, come back to the question that clarifies everything. What would I choose now, if I wasn't bound by my past choices? Not what's expected. Not what's safe. But what calls to you, even if you can't explain it yet. Because maybe you don't need a new life. Maybe you just need to stop choosing the one you've already outgrown. Sometimes, real growth begins not by adding more, but by letting go of what weighs you down. After recognizing the cycles you've outgrown and reclaiming your inner authority, what comes next is deceptively simple: you lighten your load. Not just physically or financially, but emotionally, energetically, even spiritually. There's an elegance in this phase. Like setting down a heavy bag you've been carrying for so long, you forgot what it feels like to walk without it. The Four of Pentacles often speaks of control, of holding tight to resources or habits out of fear that letting go might leave you exposed. But if you look closer, it's not just about clinging, it's about protection. There's a part of you that learned, perhaps early on, that safety lies in predictability. But now, the very strategies that once kept you safe may be the ones keeping you stuck. What if security isn't found in control, but in trust? In your ability to pivot with grace? In your willingness to loosen your grip so that life can offer something better? This moment encourages a deeper kind of freedom, not the freedom to escape, but the freedom to reallocate your energy where it matters most. When paired with the Eight of Pentacles, the message becomes clear: focus, but refine. It's not just about working hard. It's about choosing the work, inner and outer, that aligns with your purpose. That fulfills rather than depletes. When you apply your effort to what truly calls you, the results compound. The clarity deepens. The value grows. And then comes the Six of Swords, a gentle but powerful nudge to move forward. Not with force, but with quiet resolve. You may find yourself naturally drifting away from people, habits, or environments that once felt essential. There is no blame here. It's simply time. Time to cross into calmer waters. Time to prioritize peace. You've done enough carrying. You've supported enough. And now, your path begins to carve itself, not for someone else, but for you. There's a practice rooted in timeless wisdom that suggests clarity around your resources can shift your energy in profound ways. When you spend, whether it's time, money, or energy, pause and ask, is this nourishing something real? Or am I feeding a fear? The difference between those two questions could be the difference between feeling rich and feeling stuck. Begin with small steps. A gentle financial reset. Not from lack, but from alignment. Create a fund, even a symbolic one, for something that ignites you, your art, your learning, your wellness. Let each dollar carry intention. And pay attention to what brings lightness. Emotionally, creatively, practically. What choices give you breath? Which ones constrict your chest? These sensations are not abstract, they are signals. Use them. Let them guide how you spend, where you live, who you confide in, and what you build next. The path ahead is not paved in gold because of chance. It becomes golden because you walk it lightly. Because you choose not to carry what no longer belongs to you. In one ancient teaching, it is said that the wise person knows, when the bowl is too full, it cannot receive. So you pour a little out, not to lose, but to make space. That space, Leo, is where your real treasure begins to form. Not because you fought for it, but because you finally made room for it. And when that happens, what flows into your life, the opportunities, the clarity, the abundance, no longer feels like something you have to chase. It simply arrives. Because you're no longer too heavy to receive it. And so here we are, Leo, at the edge of everything you've outgrown, and the threshold of everything you were always meant to become. If the past few minutes have felt like remembering a version of yourself you once lost sight of, that's because you didn't really lose them. You simply dimmed your light long enough to learn how to hold it more intentionally. You've walked through doubt, silence, and the weight of expectations, only to discover that your light, your truth, never actually needed anyone's permission to shine. Think about it. How long have you been waiting to be chosen, to be seen, to be acknowledged, perhaps even by people who were never capable of seeing your full worth? How many times have you said, yes, when your soul whispered, not this? How often have you traded your inner knowing for external approval? These aren't judgments, they're questions meant to awaken your power. Because what happens when you stop asking for the world to understand you, and start choosing yourself anyway? Maybe this is the first time you've allowed yourself to consider that you are not behind. You are not late. You are not broken. You were just preparing. You were learning. And now, you're being invited to return to your seat at the center of your own life. Not with ego, but with embodiment. Not to perform, but to be. The kind of presence that doesn't shout for attention, but draws it in naturally, because it's aligned, grounded, undeniable. So here's my gentle challenge to you. Tonight, or tomorrow morning, find a quiet moment and write a letter to the version of you that's already living the life you desire. The bold, radiant, heart-led version of Leo who leads with compassion, trusts their voice, protects their energy, and honors their joy. Write to them like they're already here. Because in many ways, they are. Read that letter back to yourself every morning this week. Let it become a map that your nervous system can follow. Let it anchor your choices, your voice, your power. If today's message resonated with you, I want to thank you, not just for watching, but for showing up for yourself. Your presence here, your openness, your willingness to go deep, it matters. It's a gift not only to you, but to the collective. Because every time one Leo reclaims their light, the whole world glows a little brighter. And if you feel called, share with me in the comments. What would shift in your life if you fully chose yourself, today, without waiting? Or simply drop the word sovereign to affirm that you're stepping back into your throne. Your support, your likes, your comments, your subscriptions, they're what keep this channel and this sacred community growing. Every interaction is a ripple, and from the bottom of my heart, I thank you for being part of this journey. And remember, Leo, you don't need to roar to be powerful. You just need to remember who you are, and act from that place. You're not just coming back. You've already returned. And the world? It needs your presence now more than ever.